Hello and welcome to this level 5 video in my energetic system series. My name is Allie with A. Marie Speaks, and this video is a follow-up to the level 5 videos that I just put out, the 101 and 102 kind of lecture, infographic, in-depth, walkthrough videos that I just put out. If you didn't see those, if you're new here, welcome, thank you for joining and checking out my channel and this video. You can definitely listen to what I'm going to talk about here or present, no matter if you've heard my entire walk up here or not. If you find yourself as someone who understands some metaphysical topics, some esoteric things, if you've been doing some sort of light and shadow work in your own terms and framework in your life, if you're seeking honesty and clarity for yourself and to do good work and service in the world, then you're in the right place. That's what I'm talking about. That's why I'm offering this. That's my intent with this series. But here in level 5, I've already sort of walked through the basics and also the fundamental tools as ourself as a system and how we operate and how we function and use those tools in certain processes, which those processes become reflected out in the external world, which we're talking about here, and moving forward we'll be talking about the external world and sort of reality out there. So if you've missed all of the prerequisite information, I hope to inspire you to take time to look at the rest of it at some point, because there is a lot of really fundamental information there that can be taken within and tailor fit and altered and really used as great guides for good practice and exercise within yourself. I don't want to get too much off into rambles either. I'd like to keep this video as much as I can on topic and point. So let's get to it, right? This one is going to be sort of an advanced discussion for people who have been with me and who've watched those videos, like I said, and who've done some work in analyzing their own systems and also in observing and working with systems around you. The field of reality that I'm going to talk about here today, and then I'm going to hopefully encourage others to open up their minds to and explore for themselves and create in their own world, is a really all-encompassing, full-spectrum experience that is multi-layered and multi-dimensional, multifaceted. Much like our system and our self is, when I talked about the Taurus structure, the tool of it, how multi-dimensional that is, how much work and energy transactions and exchanges are available on each of the different 3 sections or systems within. I'm not going to do too much of recaps, but I'm saying that because, and I've taught that first and explained that first, for us to use those truths and knowledge as we look at the external world, to remember that all of it has its own sacred reflections of those same exact processes and functions and tools and truths. And what I'm hoping to encourage, is some observation of that. I have given sort of some nudges throughout the end of level 4 and into 5 about really taking time for yourself to incorporate aliveness and conscious awareness into all of your interactions, transactions, exchanges, communications, right? All those different words, they bring up different means of interaction, right? And it's important that we take each one of those sort of variations and explore them to full depth, and see the contrast, and the goods and the bads, and the positive and the negatives of all of those. Again, this is what we've sort of walked through with. Sorry if the lighting now. We've got clouds coming in, and it was going to be distracting coming in and out the light. Maybe tilt that a little. Whatever. Now I lost my place. I'm so sorry. Forgive me. But let's just get into level 5 here, and like I've said, I don't want to give too much of pre-rambles and catch-ups and stuff, but know that there's so much framework, there's so much foundational work within all those kind of things I just touched on briefly that are important to build a good muscle strength before you go to the external and do the work that we're talking about here. Now, for this advanced discussion, what I really want to just put out in the forefront and just start off with is the assumption that people are on the same page as me going forward and listening to this. I don't want to confuse or create any kind of false appearance that I have some kind of answer and some kind of end-all goal point, real kind of like evidence of things. You know, that's not what I'm attempting to present. That's not what this like advanced discussion is going to be about. Because I'm sure if you have been doing the work, and if you do know, then you know all answers are within, and no one can tell you the specific answers for you or the path or what's right for you, because they're not a part of your inner world. And it's your right, your sovereign responsibility to have accountability for your choices and to take action and be, you know, the commander of your domain at all moments. Create your reality, right? And co-create responsibly with others, respectfully, in mind and honoring their sovereign right to creation and sovereignty and enjoyment of life. You know, this is, again, here on forward, I'm going to be speaking from, you know, sort of a biased perspective of service towards others and positive alignment and doing things that offer free service in comforting and positive feeling ways. That's what I seek to do, and that's the truth that I align with and why I built this series. But keep in mind and know, and I will bounce back and forth once in a while to sort of showcase and highlight that there is the parallel running of the opposing inversion of the negative alignments and a whole opposite way of seeking, a whole opposite way of interacting, which is a needing and a drawing in and a seeking of what is needed for the specific system to survive, not what the whole needs to thrive, right? There's big intentional differences between when you go out in reality and you operate out there, and also when you sense and interpret the operations of other systems out there, because we can never fully really know another. This is the big thing. This is why I think it's like a conscious awareness school of development here of a reality playscape, to learn lessons as an eternal student internally, and by learning external variations, we can learn more clearly the truth of the internal workings that's happening. And that's really what I feel like is the purpose of reality, and really where we should be grounding in and building our foundations from, with all of the external services we're involved in, all the systems we build out there and co-create and imagine and dream up and interact with. You know, if we have this sort of base layer neutrality of a slight positivity, of a slight surplus, right, of offering service freely beforehand, in true knowing and faith that it's a reciprocal cycle, and that when you give, what you need will be given after. Whenever it is needed, it will come at that time. Giving in that full faith of that real cycle and that wholeness is really another whole truth of the intention here that we walk out and create in reality with. And if you can stand in that and hearken back to that, course correct to those truths always, you know, you'll be finding and interacting and calling forth the systems out in reality, playscape out there, that have the same harmony and melodies, right? They will sing louder to you, they will call back to you, and you'll be magnetically drawn more towards them. Versus things that are out of tune or don't like the tune of truth, they will have a rebuttal from you, and it will create a buffer zone and a safe boundary from things that are of opposing wants and desires and operations, you know. And I'm not going to get too much into, you know, positive versus negative here. I know I've done tons of talks on that if you're new and haven't seen that. But if you're not new, and like, this is supposed to be advanced people, so we should know these things already, right? But just highlighting again for remembrance here that truly our reality if you choose to take the responsibility and see it as whatever it is, a live action role playing game of you learning life's goals, internal wisdom points, being an eternal student, whatever you can set whatever kind of possibilities and definitions you want to that. It's infinity, literally. Um, Imagine God, as infinity, all things. And then everything within it is trying to define that. It's a piece, just one finite piece that must eventually come together to create all of infinity. We should respect all the pieces, even if from our limited perspective we don't see the worth or the purpose or the gradient. We can't really catch the value of those shades of gray in between until you really pull back and you see, wow, the whole of the image, right? But when we're in first person view and we're interacting in reality, that's not the point, right? That's not the given perspective, and that's not the game to play at the moment. Yeah, there's times to contemplate, there's times of meditation, to remove yourself into third person and to do great internal working through the lenses, whether you're flying out into macro or diving down into the micro worlds, right? There's plenty of time in the world for that. But there's also a reason that we close our eyes when we do that kind of work, right? Because we're shutting out the external world. It's not a time to interact with the external, right? And I talked a little bit about this with the layers and lenses of reality. That's inner world work. Direct world work, of course, we're interacting and you have your eyes open. You're meant to be in physicality, doing physical things. Manifesting thoughts from thought realm down into this real, solid 3D world, right? Creating through thought energy down into real energy. You bringing potential into kinetic in the many different ways and shades and hues and frequencies available. Sound, light, all of these different variations are happening and taking place all at once in our reality and a part of us. This is why this is what I'm trying to encourage by remembering the truths of the torus and the many layers, mind, body, and spirit of us, and the interactions happening between them, creating this appearance of a whole, is exactly what's happening continuously outside, infinitely, in many different ways, on so many layers in external reality. And we get to choose which ones we want to step into and help to light up and build and put our energy and love and light into. Create more stability, create moreness, really, whatever variety it is for that specific reality, dream, project, idea, whatever it is. It can be a conversation, it can be a song, it can be, whatever, and it is everything. It literally is all things. It's walking across the room, it's sitting, it's making a video like this, it's out building a business, it's when you do your job, it's teaching your children. All different varieties of these interactions, have actually multidimensionality to them. And when we honor and respect that, we become energy alchemists, I like to say, with conscious awareness, we're creating our realities, continuously stepping into that aliveness every moment and adding that and infusing that into everything and allowing it and respecting it to be alive in all other things out there, hearing and observing and allowing for responses and input from those external others, right? Is a huge working point. And that's what I really am hoping to open up here, especially for advanced people. And I hope to have already been encouraging us to be listening and opening up space for that, right? But hopefully, if you have been sort of working in that realm and sort of stretching out those muscles and creating some freedom of movement and flexibility in conversations and in your interactions with the direct external world, like your outside world, your exterior world, you'll be receiving a lot of confirmation and validation that's so specific and individual to you. And it's difficult to relate to others, and you can't really share it. It just goes into the inner world, and you know it. This I talked about with the ascension of information and the ascension of light, and really talking about these three different shades of energy, light, and information, knowledge, and wisdom, right? And having these three different steps of learning and understanding a thing. And understanding that out there in the universe, in the ether, infinite intelligence, there's many different shades of energy, information, and light that I'm just quickly showcasing and giving categories as things like information, the knowledge, and wisdom, and knowing that those things ride on light waves, and they're sent out from the great logos, from our sun, from all light beings actually speak out in this language, and send information in manyness, not just in verbal communication. It's not just in a measurable EEG, EKG kind of way either. It's not just fMRIs. It's not just RF technologies and stuff like that. There's realms that are unmeasurable yet to us, that don't have categories and a label with a whole discipline behind it. But that doesn't make them any less valid, and it doesn't mean that they're not there. And so, yeah, I really hope to introduce those things and allow incorporation for those, for you to sense what they are, and for you to make your own unique labels for those things as they develop within you and within your direct world. Because really, each one of us has this point, like a mosaic tile within the whole of a picture. The whole of the picture would be God or Source, the universe, whatever, the whole of totality. But each one of us is granted with a life a single pane, a window pane in that glass, the mosaic, whatever shape it is, whatever hue and color, bam, you're there, you're put in it. And you have this certain amount around you, and those they define the piece that you are, but not in, not in any way, but to make it more beautiful and to make you fit into the whole of when you pull back from the bigger picture, that you are this one little gradient in the lighter color of the cheek. It doesn't make you any less important than every other picture that makes up the whole face of God. Maybe this is the mosaic, right? But your one little piece down here, it fits perfectly, and it highlights the light shining over here from here, right? And it makes this look like the Creator is smiling, and that's your part, and you're a brightened little fractal piece. You don't know that when you're in the first person view, because your job actually is not even to be that real and to even know there's light shining and you're that smile or whatever piece you are, whatever glint and glimmer of the Creator your purpose is for him to see. You don't know that. We're not meant to know that. This capacity is not for that, because we have a first person view of reality that tells us the rules and the setup and the scenarios we're allowed to play within the game, or we're set within the universe, or we're bestowed with divinely by God. However terminology you like to look at that, it's cool with me, and I like all of them at different times, and I think a meshing of whatever. I'm not going to get too much into that part of it, but just to know that it's true that our life's purpose is to enliven and to create as much definition, color, and variation in our little tiled mosaic that we can, to find the best gradients and offer, saturation to our heart's desire and our greatest content, and to offer what we can through our single little tile. And when we do that and we live in our life and our reality in full embodiment, life becomes more alive. You hear better, not only better real communications with actual others. Do you sense and hear more from them? Can you help them in more ways and honor them in better ways? And they will give you better conversations and better help and assistance and better support and love back as well, more clearly, because you've offered them more clarity. See? Not only is it experienced and validated through the work and direct relationships with others in your life, but it will come in unexplainable other ways too, in miracles and little blessings, in surprises, in synchronicities or coincidences, whatever you want to look at and call again those things. That's the universe speaking to you, because it is coursing with infinite intelligence. And these are things I want to bring up here at the end before I close out, to just give to more advanced people who've done some working to sort of develop more aliveness in their life. To think of things as coursing through infinite intelligence, there is something happening, like in the ether I've talked about in those 101 and 102 videos, right? Where I had talked about the circular blurb that had a more dense coagulated points in the center and less out towards the peripheral and around, like the circumference of the entire thing is like very light. Um, think of that as in not as wisdom. Wisdom is the coagulated middle point, the very bright light that's solid, and it has more hues available in it, has more spectrums available in that light. It's more condensed. Um, and also, you could think of it as data points on a graph, right? And thinking, oh, there's a lot of data points in the center point. There's a lot of stuff to look at, a lot of happenings here. It's the average area where the most of the populace is, right? But again, it's the most developed information. It's the most energy that's been coagulated and discovered and added attention and love and light into that blurb. It's become more condensed. And around it becomes less and less. And it's a little bit, you can sense like some circular, more built up actual circles kind of spreading out with blurs and some layering underneath it. And that is knowledge, right? That is something that you have an understanding. You have some circles there. You see what's happening. There's availability of more to travel inward because there's layers of blurring circles underneath it. So there's calling to know that there's more depth to be discovered there. But also you still see the real definement of the individual circles of knowledge, of what the individual simple message was. But the complexity is underneath, right? And the complexity is very much at the center with the wisdom because it's all coagulated. You can't really tell it was an individual circle anymore, right? Or you can't really tell which data point is in that middle area of the scatter plot because it's so condensed, right? You have to really zoom in to understand which data point is in that area. But as you get to more of the outliers, right, they become a little bit more clear to tell the coordinates, clear to tell what they are. And then out on the perimeter, we have some individual circles set out, very clear as to what they are. And that's information. Those are tidbits. That's the first brushing and introduction to certain things that you have, or that the universe is offering to you, or that another has offered to you. This is the thing that I want to introduce and sort of really talk about, is alive information, alive energy as information, as conscious packages, sort of, almost like bubbles, like the circle that I'm explaining right now on the graph, using that as a metaphor, and understanding that the shape of the circle is this information. It's the initial introduction to some point of learning for you, or a desire or dream, some internal little calling, little curiosity intriguing you, right? You see it out there. It's just one little thing. You get a glimpse of what it is, but it calls to you. It looks interesting. You want to know more about it, right? But you don't yet. And again, now to bring it to the final layer of the metaphor and to bring in like a star in the very distance. Or if you're walking in the forest and you see a flickering fire off in the peak, or you're out like in the night in a snowy place that you could imagine that you're trekking through at night, and you see the glittering town off very far. One little light. One destination far off. A piece of information out there, right? And there's a void in between. There's empty space to be traveled. There's a magnetic calling and pulling, and there's a transversing of space and time to get there that you must put in to show it's worthy to get closer to it. This is the other thing. It has to be worth it to us, and we have to put effort into things in order to get closer to that circle of information, or on the plot, right, to get more circles around it and to get closer and to see that it's actually knowledge that has layers underneath it, right? Because the closer that we get to the thing, the more in little bits of information are coagulating on the graph, so to speak, right? And next to that little scatter plot point. And now as we get closer to it, it's building more and it's becoming more of a knowledge point. And as we get there, that knowledge can turn into wisdom one day when we actually arrive and have a chance to walk around on it and see what the whole place was about, learn the town or whatever, right? This is the journey of ascension. This is what we're doing in many different ways, in all shapes and songs and tunes. I think when we go into all interactions like this, it really opens up bigger working in reality, and we can get much better results it's similar to once you learn about aligning your inner bosses and managers and workers in the internal core and getting yourself running with your truths, and then allowing the ripple effect of the truths aligned to ripple out into all the processes, and then to see the improvement of productivity in the processes, and see improvement in the overall functionality, and then the improvement of the charge and the polarity of positivity, and then the ability and momentum to collect in an alignment once you've really done that clearing to get going, and to say, wow, actually, I do have the abilities to do this. And now, we can say that those same processes and availability of work is available with the external world. You do make an impact. You can really change the impact that you have been seeing and getting with these simple works and understandings, giving yourself time to learn and listen, of course, and observe, and to offer service out, right? Again, because we're hearkening back to the truth and honoring that our life here is a blessing bestowed upon us as a gift to offer service, to do great deeds, whatever is within us, talent or affinities or callings, whatever kind of thing is within you as your specific piece, to dig down into it and to build it as best as you can, and to make it the most beautiful masterpiece painting mosaic that you can. And now, before closing, I just want to introduce one final thing, sort of advanced tidbits of further learning for others who are interested in what I'm saying and who kind of want a little bit more. Now, these are things that have sort of shaped where I'm going and what I'm learning right now, things I find interesting or have been sort of pivotal points for me of incorporating more aliveness into my reality, understanding the conscious awareness that makes up me as the reality of my system, my internal systems, me. Also, things that make up the playscape of reality, what we see in our direct world and what we get to actually experience, and what we can see as the truth shown to us through experience over time here in reality. And also a little bit maybe about, the orchestration of that exterior or external world that really we don't ever get to be a part of or inhabit, that sort of reflective area out there. I'm going to start out there real quick and offer out, just for anybody who's interested in learning about external things like the cloud, and learning about how information and intelligence can operate out there in the astral world, what different intelligence bodies can look like, how information can be stored in clouds and run in light. I highly suggest, if these things intrigue you in a scientific sense, you can totally look at the real science behind the physics and science and the movement of wave functions, and learn all about that, learn about shadows, learn about the different ways that light can be distorted and penetrates through things. It's super interesting. I found to think of the body as a prism, and to understand the different ways that light shines through different materials, whether translucent or opaque, or whether something is totally solid and non-transparent whatsoever, right? And thinking about remembering the energetic tower that we are, and that we're built of these light prisms, and that we are meant to pass light through to create manyness spectrums of our own definitions, our own varieties of unique hues of information and knowledge and wisdom, right? So go, if that intrigues you. There's tons of learning. You can learn the basics right on Wikipedia and stuff, and that information can lead you, and like it led me, into more metaphysical topics, into learning more of the more esoteric qualities of light and information. Please check out my reference list. I'll link again that video for some of those links if you're interested in people and you want to link to certain resources. Or my website, A. Marie Speaks, has a ton of free information and third-party links. But just quickly here, the clouds out there, remember, and I'd love to offer out positive and negative system functioning of energetics. Remember, they store energy, so they collect polarities. They have charge, negative or positive. And we have organic availability to store information in clouds, just like they store water, and they're crystalline in function, right? Robert Templer, this book here, Temple, excuse me. What a Freudian slip if you like the guy, whatever. Subconscious implant right there. Archonic matrix inversion. Science of a New Heaven, I believe it's called. I think I put that in my list. I'll put it in there if it's not there. But that book has really put me onto great learning and understanding about organic cloud plasma and how information can be stored up there, what the Akashic Collective Records could truly really be an astral body, a cloud astral out there in our quote-unquote outer space, or whatever you choose to call that. I'm not going to get into belief structures about the playscape, but for myself, I don't follow a mainstream version of that whatsoever. I cannot believe that. Spinning ball kind of thing. But anyways, the clouds that he talks about, the plasma clouds in this book, are super cool. He brings up a lot of other interesting things like ball lightning and different types of ways that energy is transferred. That book has been really inspiring to think about organic clouds holding out information and spirit and intelligence out there, and then seeing the archonic third density fake copy of the e-cloud of the internet, and seeing how the inversion and the negative agenda steals the truth of organic structuring and takes it and hijacks it and inverts it for negative functioning, to collect negative energy off of and to use for their own self-serving purposes. And so if that interests you, check out that kind of stuff. I might write more on that later. Another thing that I'm just going to talk about, the out there, external, very big things first. Again, I like an idea of plasma bodies understanding, and if you've ever seen in a telescope or looked out at the stars at night, you see them move and flicker. You know that they are, they cannot be just like a burning flame of ball of fire out there. And they have different hue qualities, they have different movements, and even the planets in themselves, they don't, to me, seem like a solid thing that you're going to be going to. I really appreciate thinking and understanding how light moves through water, and the qualities of that, and how other resonances like sound and motion flow through water and light. And then we think in that structuring and way and understanding, and then think about stars and what you see at night. And maybe allow that to just loosen up what perhaps you could think about out there. Not trying, there's biblical references and there's all kinds of other things about the waters of space and such, but I'm not going to get into my own personal beliefs. I like to leave wiggle room for anything and everything, but to me that harkens more to a true sounding melody than anything else. But water in itself, now let's bring it down and talk about water, and not only its miraculous out there capabilities, perhaps what it is, giant consciousness on a large scape, and a life giver in this sense of a great logos, like the sun of some sorts, a Mother Earth kind of large size purpose. But if we just look at water in our own purpose, water is so amazing, and it literally makes up what, like they say, 75 to 85, who knows, percent of our being here, right? So when we remember and think about the light prism, like I talked about before, and understanding the quality of how light moves, we are full of structured water. So those prisms are full of structured water. And what is structured water? If you're not familiar with structured water or plasma, if you haven't ever really dived into the internal workings in the body, I highly suggest that. I really wanted to inspire that. I think it was level 3 when I went into the external body a bit, but in the course book and what I'm developing now, the behind the scenes kind of really in-depth stuff on this, I'm going to have an entire real deep section of all types of work about the body and some nuances and learning points within the body. And also, different ways to look at it that are different from the mainstream anatomy, physiology sort of definitions and labels. And bringing in different ways to think about the body as a whole, holistically intelligent, and full of consciousness within it, and full of teachers and students and workers, all these things within it that we can have conscious conversations with, that we can learn from, that we are serving, that serve us continuously, and so positively, right? So they honor us as the whole, so effortlessly and harmoniously, that we should really honor that great gift of the physical body and the miraculous, thing that it is, by doing good work for it. So yeah, learning about structured water and what that kind of means, learning about what real health is so crucial to taking control of your reality and getting good results within your reality. And understanding the true reality of you and the nature of you, because again, that helps you interact with others and to remember all forms of life in different varieties are forms of consciousness. And that also opens up, again, that same observation of different forms of consciousness, being able to appreciate not only animals for the consciousness and get good conversations, communication with animal. I'm sure a lot of people can directly relate with how real those relationships are, those communications, the nonverbal communication. Sorry, I'm talking about nonverbal things. But even these more things that are not really even expressed, but they are felt and known communications, that we feel, that are sort of unexplainable, between things in the organic world, between the plant life out there, between knowing what's going on with your own house plants, between maybe what's going on with your garden or the weather, or maybe it's like the energy and the feel of the collective, and you get a clairvoyant kind of openness to where you can just sense that flux and flow, or you could feel the current more, you sense people's truths more. There's so many of these like unspoken, explainable different languages that you start to pick up on and hear, and are very real when you allow the space for them, and you confirm to yourself that they are there, and then you come back to them and commit to them. It brings aliveness into it, and I think it can really start with understanding the consciousness of cellular life and of water and of structured water, and understanding that something can create a boundary around it, and it has a conscious purpose. If it does work, it's a system, and then it has an embodied conscious level that should be honored and respected, and that we could actually, as creator consciousness, choose to dive down like a microscope and have available interactions with, because it is a fractal piece of us, just like it has a little piece of DNA of us in it. It's all of one thing. And now, of course, I've been rambling on and gotten slightly away again. But the other sort of, just for names and to throw out there, if water is intriguing to you, Veda Austin, Dr. Emoto, if those people, if you've heard of them before, you can check out Victor Wahlberg. I can never remember his last name, or I always remember it incorrectly, but I'll check my list again. But it'll be on there in the correct way. He has some very, very interesting work as well. Other thing you could think on, water out there in the organic world, dowsing rods, the way that life always, draws towards water. Plants move not only towards sun, but also towards water. There's a magnetic flow to water. Water is a great mystery, actually, if you start to learn about it and you never have taken the time to just kind of learn the kind of quirky facts. Even the academia sort of mainstream model of what they offer it as. They really have a lot of paranormal things that they admit that they can't explain about water, which is super cool to me. Yeah. I think I have sort of skirted around everything I wanted to bring up. I talked about the clouds and water, which is really what I kind of wanted to bring forth. forgive me for taking a moment here, but I just want to ensure that I have closed all my little loose ends before I wrap up this video. Yeah, so thank you so much if you've listened for so long here to this more advanced sort of alchemist level discussion on what reality is sort of about and what we have at our fingertips to sort of work with as malleable tools. And I'm hoping to really inspire everyone to get a handle on those tools on their own. And work on them. That's what I'm doing in my real world, and that's why I really want to bring this sort of talk it out video versus having all these infographics, things that I've really combed through, prepared, talked over, and looked at many angles over like a year and a half. Some of that stuff, especially like the positive versus negative systems with the way the torus is a tool, that information is downloads that I received a couple years ago that has been trickling through. I've been combing out, I've been bouncing off of others and working on for a long time to create more definition, right? Like this ascension, it was information, and now it's been through the information and into knowledge, and I've coagulated the knowledge into a good organization point to where I felt ready that I wanted to start to share. And it's so interesting because as you start to share, the things that I had built as this knowledge in the scatter plot, right, they spread out more. It's like diving deeper into the graph to where you're making the coordinates instead of counting by fives, you know, on the graph, and it was small and looking away, you know. Excuse me. Now you're dumping it down and counting by ones, or even counting by 0.5, and creating such more open space on the graph you're viewing that I was able, in the knowledge of the systems, to create even more depth, even more intricate examples, and through those examples and examination of them, more working, more truths echoing back, more confirmation that yes, this makes sense, this works, and then the feedback and the retribution come back, and they're positively aligned, and they're encouraging and supportive, and that is reconfirming in itself. And at that point, you know, when I start to share things that I feel more confident about actually teaching versus learning, right? It has a bounce back rebound effect, because actually then I realize all the points that I still am learning at, and those become new learning points for me, and I was able and am able to dive deeper into them. And that's kind of what I'm offering in this video here, is a little bit of the diving deeper into the points that I have been really discovering on my own, and over time that I found more nuance and definition within, for those who are ready to hear those kind of things now. So yeah, I would say, just to wrap it up here, there's lots of cool things about the way the playscape could be set up. There's a lot of complexity out there to discover and to learn about. And I hope I gave just a bit of a starting ground with that 101, 102 infographics, the list of resources and references, giving starting grounds for people as their starting grounds for me to branch off of and learn where I would like to learn more. And follow those intrigues and work out those discoveries of things that are curious to me, that I seek to know more about, to create more definition in the inside world and my inner understanding of my reality. Because I really think that's, you know, the main point of this journey here. Of course, there's always the bounce back of the bigger picture. There's always this overarching umbrella of society and humanity, community that you're involved in, and that in itself can almost become a burden, or this strange dichotomy between myself, any of us, when we start to really open up our minds and open up our world to more creation and more conscious awareness. because we become more consciously aware of all those who are not, of all the things that could be changed if you did this differently. We start to see solutions and things. You start to see how things are not working, and also you start to get a better faith on the bigger picture, and more faith in yourself and in the overall trust of where the real direction of the real current is going, right? Like I talked about at the very start, the picture of the face of God smiling is the whole thing, or with a little laugh in in the corner of his mouth, or in his twinkle in his eye, or whatever you want to think of that as, or even not as a hymn. Sorry if you are all triggered because I'm saying him. And I wasn't even brought up in a religious traditional sense. I wasn't raised like a Christian or Catholic or whatever to say that. Like, I have come around the whole teachings in all varieties to like that hymn and to call it hymn. But in all honesty, when I look at myself, I don't even think of it as a him, as a man or a person. Much more. So much couldn't even be. But at the same time, if you pull back far enough, if the lighting's just right, if you squint your eyes, oh, he's a man. But it can be manyness. It's anything. It is everything. It's how you choose to look at it and define it. That's the beauty of infinity. And that's the beauty of creator mindset, of us being fractal pieces of that. We have the capability and the gift to do that. And also the fun and the humor and the adventure in it to make it that way. And to choose or not to choose that, right? We have the open choice to enslave ourselves, to trap ourselves, belittle and demean ourselves, to ruin every moment, not allow ourselves to laugh, the freedom to smile, to be burdened by all the negativity and all the bad things. But remember, you create your atmosphere. You create the reality that you experience. So why would you choose to do that? Because why? X, Y, and Z out there in the external world is suffering out there. You've been told that. Or maybe even in your direct world, you do see some suffering. You have to take that into your own world. I mean, somebody's truth, some people's truth might say, yes, I do. And that's, for me, that's the validation that that's real. This is a free will universe. This is what developing cognition is about. This is what discernment, sovereignty, right of thought to create your reality is all about. You cast out whatever light is within you, whatever your perspective is, your beliefs, your truths, what you honor and choose to think about, how you choose to see the world. You cast out that atmosphere into the reality, into the dark void, into the emptiness and the space around you. And the universe then says, oh, this is what's been cast out. This is the fertile ground of available potentials this creator consciousness sees out in front of me. So ding, 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 sets off all those lights. Just like I talked about before with the ether lights. Some are brighter, more coagulated spaces of wisdom pieces, or of pieces that are very more relative to you, very more known to you, closer to your direct world, closer to your space. And some are distant pinpricks, like far off stars that are just so tiny. They're still there though, and you still have a choice to go at them and follow them. But you have to put the time and energy into it, right? Now, you have to remember that whatever your intentions, your mind, your heart, the energy of what you're seeking, you desire to build out there, the universe hears all of that, and it wants to give you what you want. And so it lines the red carpet for you. And it lights up all those little ding, ding, dings around, those knowledge, wisdom, and information points at different qualities of light, at different sizes, depending on your distance from them and your desire to go towards them. And that can be positively flavored or negatively flavored, because at all times, creator consciousness, we're in this dualistic building space where reality has twofold appearances and potentials at all times. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Every playscape, every scene has an opposite inverted version. Every positive choice has an inverted negative, right? And so when we cast out, and when you are looking at your world and deciding and envisioning what you want for yourself, you have to keep that mindful. And not to banish and to demean and criticize and say all these bad things that I think, all these terrible worries or fears or whatever aggressions or things that are over in that, when you cast out in negative, that become more fertile and available to you. Doesn't mean you have to attack those or do anything about them. You should see them and acknowledge them and say, okay, those are points in the coordinates of my data set. I have a huge graph to lay points on. I have open area. I have actually a mirrored reflection image of the positive building over there that I could choose. So why am I going to harness myself with horse blinders and force myself over into this negative quality of reality and build and tell myself I have to build there? Unlocking that and realizing, having these conversations with ourselves is you have to do it present moment by present moment, day by day. Some days are easier, some days are harder, but that's the choice of being alive. That's the sovereign eternal flame within you. You've got to blow on that flame every day. You've got to ignite it. You've got to remember it. You've got to get down in front of it and say, thank you. I feel your warmth. I feel that spark. Even if it's a coal, even if it's an ember, get down on it and give it a little breath. And if it's true, honest breath, unconditional love for yourself, it will ignite that fireplace. And you'll be able to get another log and put it on there. You'll be able to remember, I am infinite. I am worthy of all just because I'm alive. That's it. That's all that tells me I have another day to live. I have the fire on in me. Gift is here. So yeah, either you can acknowledge that and work from that point and use that light to shine out and build and see what calls from that area, or you can stunt it and think you're in a big shadowy place in a dark cave and sit by it and freeze like this. Somebody come get me. But in reality, no one can come in your inner world. That's real law of reality, of every single boundary in every world and parameter. No one's coming to save you but yourself at the end of the day. And it's a hard lesson, and it's hard even for me, because it's the tough love, but it's the critical thinking and discernment of strength that we need, and that I even need to remind myself of all the time. Here and there, more than other times. Some days it's glowing and great, and maybe for months it is. And other times it needs a deeper reminder. No shame or guilt in that. It's flux and flow, ebb and flow. This is what, if there was no change, we'd be dead. You'd be off. You'd be in a different parameter, on a different setting and role. You're not there. You're not in spirit realm. You're not an astral self. You're not at your higher self yet. You're here, third, fourth density. You're alive in this playscape in life. So you play it to your worth. Admit in humble, divine rightness the capabilities of your defined space and of your human capacity, and do the best you can with what you've got. Each moment, each day. And you will see better realities. You will really start to feel momentum building, and you'll be excited for every day of your life. You'll be excited to see what's happening next, what the universe can send to you, what God has planned for you, what others, you'll be excited to have interactions with others and conversations with others. And even you'll be excited to do inner work and conversations with the inner people within you, because you'll actually be desiring to do good work for yourself. And it feels good. It's instantaneous in the retribution in that service. So if you're needing pick-me-ups, if you're feeling down or feeling like that's, embers down there resting on coals and things, do good service for yourself. Give yourself a hug. Take time out of your day to support yourself and give yourself nutrient, nourishment, whatever it is, in whatever flavors and varieties that feel good to you. Do that for yourself. Remember, life's a cycle. Remember, it's an up and down flow. It's an in and out breath. The heart pumps, or valve, whatever you want to look at it as. It is, there's always so much happening, and there's always so much to be grateful in, and to remind us of the great balancing work that is always available to us. So I'm hoping that I've inspired that here in this long talk this morning. I think I started off saying this was going to be a quick one. Classic me, it's turned into an hour. If you stuck with me and listened through this whole thing, I really appreciate your audience so much. I hope that some of the things that I've offered up will help bring more depth and quality to your experience of reality, and help to bring in more knowledge, information, and wisdom bits in unlocking different things in your own experiences that will create those personal confirmations and those more tangible experiences of validity that say, yes, this is real for me. Oh, good. I'm getting good results back. So yeah, I'm sure I might listen. I'm sure I might return to this same level 5 and do not only just a wrap up, but maybe a section further video. But I'm kind of working to coagulate some things that are difficult to describe, and also hard for me to translate and to showcase in a way that makes sense with verbal written language. And my diagrams are not wonderful, so I'm really sort of working better to make better visuals, diagrams if I can, and if not, I might just leave it for later and recircle on it when I have a bit more wisdom built around my knowledge points, right? A bit more quality to the image that I'm trying to explain. I might need to just seek more definition first, but I'll keep everybody posted on that. And in the meantime, you can always find, like I said, free resources and tips on my website, amariespeaks.com. Also, my blog's there. Any kind of my personal stuff is over there too. If you want to keep up with what I'm writing or talking about on my podcast, you can follow me on Telegram as well. I put a lot of links and do personal daily positivity tips and stuff over on Telegram. If you're looking for stuff like that, you can follow me if you use that platform. Thank you so much for joining me for this video, and I'll check you next time.